Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. In yesterday's video we talked about why you shouldn't be panic selling support and why 25K is actually a long-term buy signal. Many people were bearish, many people were expecting that Bitcoin was going to be falling to new lows, and now we are actually seeing Bitcoin breaking out once again. Support is held at 25K. Bitcoin is seeing a massive breakout after Grayscale has actually announced that they won their lawsuit against the SEC. So far, everything that I've been talking about has been playing out. So for the rest of this video, we're going to break down exactly how to position yourself for what's going to be coming over the next couple months. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video. If you watched yesterday's video, you guys will know that what we talked about was holding this 25K support. Now, it's very obvious to trade the Bitcoin market, especially today, because Bitcoin over the last year has only been following ranges. We've been inside of tight ranges, whether it was over here inside of this consolidation between range high to range low. We consolidated here for quite a few months. And then we moved down. Obviously, we broke down, but then we spent more time inside of this range here, another couple months there. And throughout this entirety, we've kind of just been doing the same thing. Once we finally broke out of this 25K level, because keep in mind, we even ranged over in this. This itself was kind of its own new range, and more I would draw this part. Now, inside of the current consolidation for Bitcoin, we've literally just gone into a new sort of consolidation range. And this is what we talked a little bit about in yesterday's video. We talked about how as long as we're holding above 25K, we've basically just entered a new consolidation between 32K all the way back down to 25. Now, as you guys can see, I've actually gone ahead and I've drawn support and I've drawn resistance. And this is going to help you guys to visualize where resistance is on the chart and where support is around the 25K level. So this 25K level was resistance all throughout this time. In spring, March, we broke out, and for the first time we were retesting 25K as support. And we've spent a long time retesting this level. We spent over a month here consolidating above it, and then we broke out. We're unable to actually hold the breakout at about 31 to 32K. And then we ended up coming all the way back down to retest that same level again. But where everybody was getting really bearish after this big sell-off, the reason why I wanted to tell you guys why I wasn't personally bearish yet had everything to do with the fact all we really had done off of this sell-off was come back down and land right back on that 25K level as support. You know, I told you guys that if we were to break down from this, that 25K level acts as resistance and we're getting rejected in here, then yeah, obviously we would be expecting downside, which in fact, if we break down from 25K, we were expecting to see a pretty big move, potentially all the way back down to like $18,200. And so I said that the best thing that we could see is for Bitcoin to hold 25K support, and as you guys can tell, that's exactly what we've done. In the shorter time frames, the entire reason we're seeing this big breakout is because Grayscale, the Bitcoin Trust, the company, they actually went ahead and won their lawsuit against the SEC. So we've seen Ripple and XRP win their lawsuit. We've seen Grayscale win their lawsuit. So we're already seeing things starting to shift in the direction of crypto. All the big momentum factors, we went through all of the collapse of FTX, of Terra Luna, of Celsius. All of these big lenders went bankrupt in the bear market of 2022. And so we saw all of this chaos. Everybody was wondering, you know, how are we ever going to recover from this? And now over the last few months, you know, there's talk of this ETF. The deadline of this ETF is, I'm pretty sure, this month. So we should have some sort of finalization around that, whether BlackRock gets it or not. So there's talk of the ETF. There's now talk of the lawsuit between XRP and Ripple that we've won. There's now this that we've won. There's other little things that are in the talks about different sort of adoptions that we're always hearing about between new centralized banks that are adopting, mainly happening in other countries, but in America, we've actually seen some big strides of late. You know, Jerome Powell came out and actually said that stable coins are real money. So that was one of the biggest things that we've had. Everybody's wondered about Tether, US dollar coin, but him giving the okay for stable coins was really what started a lot of this stuff. That was kind of the first thing. Then we heard talks about the ETF with BlackRock, and now we've kind of transpired to where we're at today, where XRP's won the lawsuit. We're We're also seeing Grayscale winning the lawsuit today. So as it stands, there's plenty of momentum swinging into the bullish favor. And this is exactly what we needed to see. So now the question comes, what happens for Bitcoin? Well, right off the bat, guys, even though we're seeing this bounce to the upside, we got to keep in mind that news events that are driving hype, even though that this is coming after retesting 25K, I always tell you guys that it's always buy the rumor, sell the news. So we were sitting on 25K before any news came out. I told you guys that with us sitting at support, this is a buy opportunity. We should not be selling. And so now this news comes out that Grayscale won their lawsuit and we get the breakout off that level. Generally, news is going to follow what the TA already shows. The TA is going to show that the market looks bullish and that we're sitting on a level where we're probably going to get buy support. And then you get buy support kind of centered around a news article, right? Grayscale wins the lawsuit against the SEC. Everybody funnels to go buy Bitcoin, right? And so that's the way you're going to see the market move. Now, after we've had this news event come out, I would expect to see that this thing could pull back a pretty decent amount of this daily candle. Don't be surprised if we come all the way back down and kind of get a tag of this $26.8 thousand level. And then from there, you know, if we can hold support above this, that does set us back up for a retest of basically the exact level that we broke down from, being about $28.9 thousand or so. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be watching for in the short term. How do we react at this level? Are we going to end up making this a retest before continuation? Or does this end up being, you know, kind of this bull trap where we end up selling back down? If this candle rejects, it sells all the way back down, we start closing even below this midpoint right here, and then we come back down, I'm going to be anticipating that we're probably going to be losing support. I told you guys in yesterday's video that it's more likely that we're probably going to see at least a bounce in the short term after this sell-off, even if we are to see more downside. So these are just things that I'm considering. I don't think that we should be longing the market right now after this breakout. I don't think that we should be chasing or rushing into anything. There is good setups across the board, but all of them have kind of broken out with this move. So I would just wait for the next couple days, things to settle down, see how we react off of this breakout level. Can we hold support and cement a higher high? If so, then that's ultimately going to show that we're going to be going higher. But you guys already know, big picture, as long as we're above 25K, I'm anticipating our final move to take us up to this lower high being 48,000 or 40,000. Really, 40 to 50,000 is kind of my target, and I'm going to continue to stick to that. So far, nothing has really changed. We're continuing to hold the same levels. We're seeing a buyback. We're seeing positive news. I just don't really think that anything's changed, so I'm going to continue to stick with this. I'll give you guys an update as we follow. Now, remember, guys, the whole point of what we were talking about yesterday, and really today, the whole reason why Bitcoin's doing good is because the stock market's breaking out again. The stock market perfectly retested our target down here, and then after that retest, we're seeing continuation. Most likely, this thing's getting ready to run to all-time highs and new all-time highs. And so I am actually anticipating that we're about to see a pretty decent move in the stock market. If we're about to see the stock market break out of all-time highs and going into new all-time highs, Bitcoin's going to make this big run up to 50K. I'm pretty confident in saying that. So that's kind of the same analysis that I'm sticking to. Overall, nothing's changed. We perfectly hit our target up here, pulled back right back down to this prior high, retested it as support. That was kind of the final area of support that we needed to truly cement before we could go into new all-time highs. And we've hit that. We've smacked down on that as perfect support, and we're seeing the continuation. That's why kind of we're also seeing, you know, Bitcoin doing so well on top. So as long as this is trending up, expect Bitcoin to do the same. Now, guys, I want to talk to you guys about some thoughts. I keep getting questions specifically from one person. Good to go 4. You're in the Discord. He's a VIP. He also comments on the YouTube. I've been seeing your comments. It's just that I've been really busy with this puppy, and so I haven't been able to like sit down and try and formulate a video. But he keeps asking the question, can I talk about the Bitcoin bottom versus the altcoin bottoms? And how it kind of relates to 4-year cycles and things like that. Well, the thing is, when we're talking about altcoins and we're talking about Bitcoin, we know that Bitcoin follows perfect 4-year cycles, and it really has for basically the last 10 years now. So every single one of our Bitcoin bottoms happens 4 years from the last, right? So the distance from bottom to bottom should be 4 years. That one was 1,428 days. This one was 1,428 days. 1,450 is 4 years. So now that we've just completed a 4-year cycle taking place from 2018 to 2022, we also just began a new one as well. So Bitcoin follows these 4-year cycles, right? We know this. I've talked extensively about this. We know that every 4 years, Bitcoin finishes the end of its bear market and then starts another 3-year uptrend in its place. So that's the way a 4-year cycle works. Now, how do altcoins factor into this? Are altcoins going to follow the same trend? Do altcoins, outperform Bitcoin? Do they follow 4-year cycles? What is the case with this? So I think that the best thing that we can do when we're going to be talking about altcoins is simply look at the best performing ones, or what I should say, the most consistent ones. And the only way that we're going to know what the most consistent altcoins are is really if we just go at what's been around the longest, what has synced up with Bitcoin the most, because it really comes down to what follows to the greatest correlation towards Bitcoin, because a lot of altcoins aren't as correlated to Bitcoin as maybe, Ethereum. The thing about Ethereum, and this is going to be the staple across the board on all altcoins, when we're drawing 4-year cycles, Ethereum got added to exchanges in the middle of the 2015-2016 cycle, right? So it didn't necessarily have a specific bottom at the same time that Bitcoin had its 4-year cycle low. Bitcoin's 4-year cycle low in 2015 was before Ethereum ever even got added to the market. So we have to remember that we don't have all of the data points to go off of when it comes to specific altcoins. So it becomes a little bit harder to factor 4-year cycles. Not only do altcoins have less liquidity, less market cap, but then a lot of them are getting added at different points of the cycle that aren't even correlated with the 4-year cycle low of Bitcoin. So that's something to remember. However, any altcoin that's been around multiple cycles, it will follow Bitcoin as far as its trend. Will that bottom at the exact 4-year cycle low? It really depends on the altcoins. Altcoins that continue to see more adoption as the cycles go on, they're the ones that sync up with Bitcoin more consistently. So with Ethereum, this is really the first example of, I would say, the best altcoin that we have in the market. It's the biggest, it's got the most adoption, it has the most buy support as far as like what it also does inside of its economy, how you can build your own cryptos, issue smart contracts. It's its own economy, and it's much bigger than anything else that we have on the market. I argue it's bigger than Bitcoin, and it will do so in this cycle. Now, when we're talking about this, we don't have a 4-year cycle low to pull from, right? So all we really have is when it synced up to Bitcoin in the 2018 bear market, and then we bottomed at $80, which from right here, this was the end of the year of 2018. We bottomed perfectly at the same time with Bitcoin's 4-year cycle low. Even though we kind of had this COVID capitulation, the COVID capitulation never made a lower low below the one that we made in 2018. We got really close, right? That's a wick that got super close to it, but we never made a lower low. And so our lowest low came at the end of the year of 2018, the same point that Bitcoin bottomed in 2018 at $3.2 thousand. So this was kind of the first real data point that we have to look at, because prior to that, if we look at the date, all the way to the very beginning, we only have about 1,225 days. So it's really close to a true 4-year cycle. But like I said, we can't specifically say because this is when it got added to exchanges. It didn't get added to exchanges at the time of Bitcoin's 4-year cycle low or even a little bit before. It got added right after. So we don't have a true data point to go off of. So that's why I say I kind of ignore all of that stuff. And then I come over to here because now we have finished another cycle. Bitcoin itself from 2018 to 2022 completed a 4-year cycle. And so Ethereum also did the same thing. And so here's where things get interesting, guys. We're going to take it off a log scale. We're going to zoom in here a little bit. So this is our 4-year cycle low, the first data point being in 2018. And now we're going to draw another one right over here. So this is where things are a little bit interesting going into this current cycle. So based off of Ethereum, we bottomed in the end of the year 2018. We always bottom at the end of the year of at the end of the year anytime for Bitcoin. If I come over here and pull up Bitcoin, we go to the all-time graph and we zoom out here, you guys are going to see every bear market low is the end of the year. This was the end of the year 2011. This was the end of the year 2014 and 2015. This was the end of the year of 2018, and this was the end of the year 2021. So we're seeing the exact same end of the year being our 4-year cycle low for Bitcoin. Now, what I find interesting about Ethereum is the fact that we had the same end of the year 4-year cycle low for 2018, but when the FTX collapse happened, Bitcoin made a lower low in November, right? That was this move right here. That was when Bitcoin made this final lower low to 16K, and then that completed the bear market. Ethereum and many other altcoins, they never made a lower low. In fact, they made a higher high. And so their lowest low actually took place right here in June. So if we're drawing a data point from the bottom of 2018 all the way over to here, this is only 1,281 days. So we're quite a bit shy of a 4-year cycle, right? Generally what we want to see is 1,450 days approximately. It doesn't have to be exact, but 1,450 days from cycle low to cycle low. This one was 1,281, which actually would get us more along the lines of this first cycle for Bitcoin. So in our first cycle for Bitcoin, if we come over here and draw a data point, you're going to notice that from peak low of this bear market of 2018 all the way over to this one was about 1,155 days. So we didn't have nearly the same amount of liquidity in this early first cycle, and I do believe that that's kind of the main reason why it was shorter. This was only when Bitcoin had like $22 million in total market cap, and that was at the peak. Down here, it would have been a micro cap coin. So we have to remember that it was a micro cap. So for Ethereum, 1,281 days is close enough to 1,450, because keep in mind the last two Bitcoin cycles were 1,428. So they weren't even a true 1,450, right? So it's not going to be 100% the same. But with Ethereum, I just find it a little bit interesting that when Bitcoin made a lower low to finish that 4-year cycle low, many altcoins, including Ethereum, never actually made a lower low. Their lowest low happened in the summer. So there is a little bit of a difference going into this cycle. Do I think it really changes a lot? Not really. To me, what I think it changes is just the fact that maybe altcoins end up topping and bottoming at a little bit of a different point than Bitcoin, which wouldn't be that unheard of considering a lot of altcoins topped right here being May of 2021, and then even though Ethereum made a new all-time high right here and Bitcoin did the same going to 65 and 69K, many altcoins didn't make a new all-time high. Many altcoins like Dogecoin made a lower low like this. So we did see a little bit of a difference happening there. Maybe that's the reason going into this cycle, since we bottomed at a little bit of a different point, bottoming more in the summer rather than the end of the year over here. Maybe that means that, you know, the altcoins are also going to end up topping and bottoming at a different point going into this bull cycle. I don't really know. All I'm trying to do is share with you guys how Bitcoin is the true epitome of the 4-year cycle, and the next best in line is Ethereum, and it really doesn't follow it quite as good. This is still pretty close. I still think it's solid. But when I'm looking at 4-year cycles, I'm really only looking at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only thing that truly follows the 4-year cycle trend. Now, there is one other altcoin that I wanted to talk about, and I actually find this one very unique in its own way because of the fact it's following its own sort of 4-year cycle, very unique to its own trend, and it's actually one of my biggest holdings. So I really like Chainlink. I really think that this one's going to do well. I think that you can't go wrong holding this as a long-term investment based off of what it does fundamentally. It's one of my biggest investments. I'm going to continue to hold this one the entirety of this cycle. Now, one of the cool things I love about this chart is the fact that Chainlink actually follows a 4-year cycle. It's one of the only altcoins that I've seen follow a 4-year cycle, and it follows it even closer than some of these other markets out there. So we're going to go right here and draw a data point. And we're going to go from peak low to peak low. So this would have been our peak low in the 2018 bear market for Chainlink, right? Because we actually made a higher high right here. In December, at the end of the year, when everything kind of sold off and went for its final low, Chainlink made a higher high. So our data point can't be at the same time. Chainlink's lowest low was happening in June of 2018. So from that point all the way over to our capitulation that happened in the summer, that's about 1,416 days. And if you draw over here to these two wicks next to this point, it's kind of just, you know, wherever you draw it, but it's about almost exactly 1,450 days. So it's close enough right there to that 4-year cycle low. The peak low that we saw right here was about exactly 4 years from the last peak low of the bear market. So Chainlink actually followed a 4-year cycle, and it's one of the only cryptos out there that has done this. You guys can look at XRP, you guys can look at Binance Coin, you guys can look at any of the other ones out there. They just don't follow the 4-year cycle. They kind of do their own thing, and they might mimic Bitcoin a little bit, but they generally just aren't following 4-year cycles. And so I'm not really focused on the 4-year cycle with altcoins. I'm focused on the 4-year cycle with Bitcoin. Like, yeah, I'm focused on it with altcoins because I still have to take profits on altcoins and stuff. But altcoins don't follow it as much as Bitcoin does. What we generally see with altcoins is they take off crazy once Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, and they don't really do a whole lot. They bottom at the same time Bitcoin will, which will generally be about the end of the year. This was the first cycle where we didn't see that, because many altcoins, like if we go to the total market cap right here, you guys can see that we never really made a lower low. Even on the total altcoin market cap, this made a higher high. The COVID or the FTX collapse was never able to knock this down, and so we have a little bit of a difference going into this cycle that we've never had before. I don't know what that means long term, but I'm just here to tell you guys that for me, I'm focused on the 4-year cycle with Bitcoin, and I take profits on my altcoins based off of the time frames for Bitcoin too. I think that that's the smartest thing that we can do. And the big thing that we need to remember here, guys, is many of these altcoins are getting ready to be breaking out. With what we just saw with Bitcoin retesting 25K and holding, I think that that's a sign that all of these markets are about to take another big leg up. When we're looking at Chainlink, this is a very obvious one-wave impulse correction right back onto trending support in wave 2. This one's getting ready to break out, make a new high above the range highs, and then I think this one's setting up for a much bigger move, anywhere from $20 all the way up to $40, really. We could see a very large move off of these lows, because when we're looking at things like, Chainlink, this thing sat almost 500 days in accumulation. Like, why would we sit here for 500 days and then crash to the downside after we've had the 4-year cycle low, after we've seen Bitcoin bottom to its 4-year cycle low? There's too many reasons to be bullish. And so that's why yesterday when I saw everybody freaking out, everybody was bearish, everybody was talking about the sky falling and everything, I told you guys how don't panic, sell support. This is a buy opportunity, and that's exactly what it ended up being. So once again, guys, in the same way I've been sticking to my analysis up to this point, we're going to continue to stick to it. Up to this point, we've been very spot on. Everything with the S&P 500 has played out perfectly. We're seeing such a great buyback. I firmly believe that this is going to propel crypto into this next leg up, taking us to 50K. And in turn, all these altcoins are going to take off. So be prepared, be ready, have positions in play, and look forward to capitalizing on the profit as it comes. Thank you guys so much for the support. If you guys found value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want to join the VIP and see what trades I'm taking, links are in the description for that. Thank you all so much for the support. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I'm looking forward to the way that the market's looking right now. We're going to make a lot of money. The market's going to break out. Ignore the haters because I promise it's all just going to prove itself very soon. Thank you all so much. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.